Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I know this topic was moved many times for Excel, but I noticed that every once in a while those videos are not looked at if they are older than a year or two. So let me start again about Excel tables and also about a first step of importing data into Power Query with the CSV files. So if we go to new window in Excel, our Power Query is in the Data tab. So I'm using my keyboard to go there. It's Alt A. Then if you see here, letters are highlighted, and this means that every option visible here can be accessed using keyboard. So let's go to PN, F from file, and T to use text or CSV files. Now we need to select our location of the files we want to load into Power Query. And as you can see, everything looks almost good. Here we've got some data and it might need transforming, but today we are not talking about full transformation, but the only thing we want to do is to talk about Excel tables. So this is how Power Query imported my file, and I already see something is not right, because for some reason this column is merged. And now it looks as it should be. Why there was an issue? Currently, we will not delve into this problem. This is for another video. So let's load our table. And here we can see our data. Our file, everything that we need to know is here. So this might not look like everyone would want to, so let's fast change the color scheme. This is a table, so it won't be easy. We won't have to color every cell or every row or every header differently. It's enough that we go here to this table design that we can see here, and to access it press left Alt, and as you can see another letters showed on the screen. So let's press JT to go to this tab, then press S to go for the table styles. Now we can do anything we want here. If this isn't enough, here you've got new table style. This can change every single option of the table available. But this is a lot of work, and we've got already plenty of correct templates. So let's select one layout, like this one. And now about the topic of this video, which is Excel table. This is the greatest thing that Microsoft Excel has. It's dynamic, it's easy to use, and you always know what you are doing. Why? I will show you now. So let's try writing any formula. Let's just say I need to double this value for any reason at all. So I'm going here and I'm just pinpointing to my first cell. And here is the first difference. We do not see the locked cell and the row. And we do not see the column A and the row number 2, but we see this new, very rarely used symbols and name. This basically this add symbols tells us that we will access this exact row which we are in. And what we do see in the square brackets is our column name, which means that any operation we will do here will be operated based on the value from the first column and the row we specified it to. So, for the sake of simplicity, let's just multiply this by 2 and look at this. This operation automatically filled the whole column, which means that any operation, any formula we will type into the Excel table will automatically spill down without us dragging it down, which is very great feature because we don't have to worry about ranges, about locking references, or if we skip some data or if we don't. Because even if we have an empty row somewhere, the formula will work for every single row. For example, let's highlight this row using Shift Space and let's remove every single value from it. Now let's go here and let's perform the same operation. And now if we multiply this by 2, as you can see, this empty row didn't cause any issues at all. We were still able to fill this whole column easily. That's very great feature because we, as I said before, don't have to worry about data being split into 2, or if we are missing any data in the row, this doesn't matter because the formula will be filled automatically, and if something is wrong or if something is missing, we will get the correct notification. Here it's 0, but if we want to fast type a formula that splits name and surname, I know we can do this in Power Query, but let's do this by formula to show an example. So I need to split a name and I need to take only the surname. So what I'm gonna do is to use the mid function. I'm pointing to my text string. Starting number, I need to find a space. Within this text, and I'm looking at number 1. And now remember, this find function will show us only the number on which our character we are looking for is, which means that if we use this like this, it will simply split the text with the space included. And let's just select a lot of characters, and as I said, do you see we've got the space up front? There is multiple ways to get rid of the space. One is to use the trim function, which will work, and the other, better one of course, is to simply add one number to our find function, because if we highlight this and press F9, we will see that now our text will be split from the 10th character. And if we go back and select the find function itself without the +1, we will see that the space is at the 9th character location, which basically is not what we want. So now if we press enter, we will see that we've got the name and surname split. Actually, we've got only the surname here, but look at this value in this row. Here we've got an error saying value. This tells us that something is wrong, and because I know what is wrong, because our data is missing a text string here, this tells us that there is something wrong. So even if your formula will return errors, then you can analyze what's wrong. And because of this, you don't have to also worry about data having empty cells, empty rows, or data missing from some other ranges. That's a different issue. That's the one part. The second part is the ease of use with pivot tables. But first, let's do something very important. Table is Excel object that can be named. This means that we can use this name basically anywhere in Excel. So let me just copy a name from here for simplicity's sake, and press Alt J T A, and now this is our table name. It had name before, but it was the name of the file we were importing using Power Query. And now our table is loaded. So let's insert a pivot table here. As I said, we can use keyboard in Excel, which speeds the work many times. And this means that each task you can do with mouse will be at least 10 times faster with using keyboard only. So if we press Alt, we can see that insert is under N, we can see that our pivot table is under V, and then we can type just T. And here we'll paste our table name. And I already have my cell selected to which I want to put my pivot table, and then I'm just pressing enter. And as you see, now I've got every single column from this table loaded into my pivot table. This basically means that if I want to sum, let's just say I want to sum by currency free, and then I want to add the currency one as values. You can see it converted to count. So something is wrong with our data again. So let's go to value field settings and let's switch to sum. It's 0, it's not adding up. This means something is wrong, and this I did on purpose, and the reason why is to just show you how you can troubleshoot issues yourself. This is a text. How do I know this? Because I loaded this table using Power Query, and as well I know the visual indication of Excel, which means that any number that is aligned to the left of the column is not a number but is actually a text. So what can we do about this? This is yet another great function of the tables, because if we press Ctrl space twice, we will select the whole column including headers. And now we can press Ctrl Shift plus to simply add yet another column. And now let's try this. Once again, if we use any math operator on a text string, it should convert to a number if it's a proper number. So yes, in this case, Excel recognized that beneath this value inside this cell there was a number, and using a math operation which is double negation, it converted it with ease to a number. And now I will also remove the double negatives and I will multiply this by 1. And I've got the exact same result. And why to use the double negative instead of any other operation? It's because of how Excel interprets mathematical tasks. Double negation, if your data is very large, is the most time-saving option. Any other math operation will take a bit longer. So if your data is 10 of thousands of rows and you don't want to go to Power Query, then the double negation is your best option. But also you can convert any text number to a number within Power Query. And this is also very easy step, because here we know about each column type by the visual indication in the column header. Like here, it's the ABC. ABC is a text, and if we click on this, we will see all the options that we have here. And now we can change this to currency. And yes, I want to replace current, but I'm getting an error. And this is because of how Power Query works. It couldn't transform this into a number because of the euro sign in the front. So let's delete this step. And let's try again. This time let's use locale. And let's use currency. And here let's look for euro. And as you can see, it now is a number. So let's close and load our table. Now we don't need this column anymore. So it's important to decide which way you want to go. You can add a new column into the table and transform it this way, or you can load your table into the Power Query and transform it there. So let's just Control minus this column to delete it, and now let's just refresh our data. And as you can see, it's already summarized. This time as it should be. And it doesn't matter how many rows we've got, because let's just go to the bottom and let's just say I want to delete that many rows using keyboard. So again, Control minus on the selected rows. And now if we go to our pivot table and refresh it, as you see, it automatically decreased the values and the amount. And that is because we are operating inside the object, which is a table. So, table is awesome. And yet, another example here. When you are a VBA programmer and you want to access the data from specific table using VBA, it's also that easy. I'm no VBA expert, so I had to look this up a bit, but it's very straightforward. So let's just go through examples here. I've got my sheet 1 activated, and now I want to copy the entire data, excluding the headers. So I simply use data body range on the item I want to use. I know that in my Excel file there is only one table, so using its number it's okay. And as you can see, there is this moving grid, this moving ants, let's call them, or bugs or whatever. They are copied now and we can do whatever we want with this. Also, we can only select this object by name, and as you can see, the whole table is selected with just this simple line. We didn't have to use dynamic range selections, looking for last row or last column and wondering if our data is correct or not, if it's missing data or not. The whole table is selected with ease. And now, if we want to select only the data, excluding the headers, we can also do this with the data body range option. And as you can see, now my headers aren't selected. Also, we can select a specific cell within this table using another command, also related to data body range, where first we are marking the row and then we are marking the column, which means I will select cell from row 1 and column 4. And so on and so forth. As you can see here, I can select only the specific header, but this header title is wrong, so I will get an error. But let's fastly repair it. Now, as you can see, I selected the whole column using this option. I can also select a column by its number. Here I will select a second column. And now I can also select this column without the header. But here I've got the same issue I had before. Because this was prepared for a different file. And now, as you can see, I selected the whole column excluding the header. Now I want to select the whole headers. And as you can see, it's already selected. But what I cannot do is to select as you can see, I cannot select the specific header by its name, but that's not an issue because I can do it by its number. This will select the whole header. Now, my table does not have the totals row here, which we will talk in a moment. But I can also select it using the VBA, but it's not here. Sorry, this line will select the first row of the table, and I can do it by its row number. Now I wish to select the total rows, but I will get an error because, as I showed you before, the total rows is absent. But that's no problem. I can go here and use this command. And now if I go to my table, I do see I've got the total row. And the last most important thing, I can resize my table to any size I want within Excel capabilities. And I can do it with VBA or I can do it manually. So as you can see, even using VBA with those simple commands, you can move data very easily using VBA if you want to. But now let's talk about the header row. But now let's talk about the total row. This is very useful. This is very useful option because here we can do almost anything. If for any reason we want to summarize the above value, pressing Alt equals will automatically go to the subtotal, which means this entire column is summarized using subtotal. Subtotal is extremely useful function if you are checking data manually for any reason at all. So this example here, let's use it. Here we've got the total sum for this column. And now if we go to this column, to the top, and let's say we want to take data only that equals to 10. And if we go to the bottom, you will see that our value here changed. This is how subtotal works, which means any value in the total row will be calculated only using visible cells. This, of course, can be changed to any function you wish. You can use the standard sum function. So let's do that. Let's say I want to summarize the same column, but using the standard sum. And if I use my keyboard, I selected this column very quickly. Now the two values are the same. And now let's select the same amount as the same value as before, which was 10. Now we can compare these values either within the total rows or even below it. And as you can see, this works perfectly. Now, why using alt equals, which is the subtotal, is better within Excel table than using alt equals on any other range? So let's go to the top, let's go below our pivot table, and let's just figure out some values. I'm gonna highlight that many rows. I will use the rand function to generate random numbers, and to have it some meaning I will multiply it by 100, and by pressing Ctrl Enter I'm filling the whole section. This doesn't matter, but you can also use the round function to round it to 2 decimal places. And now if I press Alt-HK, it's formatted to the accounting format without using any local currency, which is the most visible and most clear format of the amount to read from. So let's test how now alt equals will react. As you can see, it saw the data and it used the above range to select the sum. And as I showed you before, now if I will split this data by using filter to filter out, this value will be the same, which means I need to put somewhere manually typed in subtotal. And I can use the same option, which is 109. And now I need to select my range. And now if I filter this in or out, let's move this a little bit lower. Now if I filter this value out, as you can see, the subtotal worked. Let's freeze those values to show it better. I will move the functions a little bit lower. Now that's perfect. As you can see, the two values differ. So the alt equals will use the standard sum, while alt equals in the table will use the subtotal. And what is great about this is yet another example. Here, as you can see, we have a text string. So if you imported your table, you should know how the data looks. So now, if we press subtotal, it deviated to also sum. But here in the function, we can change it to any different option. Let's say we want to use the count A function. And now we know we've got 386, which is basically the same as here. And this is yet another great option of the total row, because when it was created, it automatically inserted this function at the last column. So, why and when you should use Excel tables? Anywhere where you've got tabular data form, anywhere when you will be performing more calculations, and anywhere where you need to do any kind of transformation. Because let's just say this isn't a CSV file, this is something you created or something that was imported from another source, like SAP accounting software or another program. So now, if you want to do anything like that, if you want to summarize with the pivot table, we saw it that you can do it here. But also, if you are a Power Query protege, or if you are Power Query specialist, now you can import this table, as at this point you should already know, using the Alt-A PT. And now this table is imported into Power Query, where you can do many great things. Also, Excel table is yet another example of how the data should be stored and worked on, because what is the most important thing is the cleanliness of data. If your data is clean and if your data is prepared properly, the Excel table will do wonders for you. It's easy to use, it's easy to remember, and any operation you will do outside of it will tell you from where exactly you took your data. This can be shown as another example. Let's just say you need to summarize some values from this table. And let's say it's the second column of the table. So here, if you use the basic sum function, because you don't need anything else fancy, and you go to your second column and press Ctrl space, it's selected, but it's not a number. So, yet another small trick. Let's copy this empty cell, let's go here, let's select the whole column, and let's go to Paste Special. And now I want to go to another option, and I want to simply add. And this converted my text string into a proper amount or value. And now, as you can see, this sum worked. But what's more important than it worked is how the sum function looks. If we highlight it and open the cell, we are seeing something different than the standard range option, which can be shown at the basic sum here. Here we only know that values from the column A, row 26 to column A, row 30A were summarized, but If you are giving a file like this to someone else, they don't know what this column contains. They don't know what this is doing and why did you summarize column O instead of any other column. This is yet another example of why Excel tables are great. Because in the first part, which is this one, it's your table name. So if this was a sub data, you could name your table sub input. Let's do it now. Alt JTA table sub input. And now this also changed because it's now not the header title it had, but it's the new table name, which is sub input. And the most important part is this here in the square brackets. Here is your column name that you summarized. And based on your accounting software or any other software you are using for many different things, this can be named as you wish, which means, let's just say, for our sake, this is not the currency 2, but this value is something else. Let's say it's just USD. And now you know that you are taking the data from the sub input table and you are summarizing the value based on the USD currency, which means you can apply additional steps like converting to your current currency or converting it to euros, Canadian dollars, and so on and so on. And this makes your data way more readable and way more clear for the person you are sending this file to. So just please remember, always use tables when dealing with data, because tables are the most important object in Excel. Thank you for watching, thank you for my mistakes, and I hope you like my first Excel video tutorial. Next time I will be showing a trick in Power Query to show how to change columns of a table dynamically and then converting it to two kinds of functions. So stay tuned and good luck with your Excel.